Okay, good evening. Today is Tuesday, December 12th, 2023, and the time is 6:38 p.m. My name is Phil McLaughlin. I am the hearing officer designee at this hearing for the Montgomery County Department of Transportation for the Amherst Avenue Bikeway project in Wheaton, Maryland. Here with me this evening to conduct this public hearing are Mr. Joe Tamana, Acting Chief for the Division of Transportation Engineering for Montgomery County Department of Transportation, Ms. Rebecca Park, Transportation Unit Manager for MCDOT, and Ms. Angel Chang, Project Manager for MCDOT. Mr. Tamana will be providing the information and details regarding the proposed project. Thank you for joining us in person and on the virtual platform tonight. Although we have held quite a few virtual hearings, this is the first time holding a hybrid public hearing. So please bear with us if we encounter any technical difficulties tonight. Tonight's hearing is being held in person and simultaneously broadcasted via Zoom, and it is also being recorded. A link to the recording will be posted within 48 hours after tonight's hearing on the project website for the Amherst Avenue Bikeway project. The link to the project webpage is provided by scanning the QR code in person and at the top of the chat in the virtual forum. Please note, your video camera is turned off by default this evening. This is to reduce the bandwidth of the meeting and maximize technical efficiency. We request that you do not turn your camera on during this hearing. Likewise, your microphones have been muted. Once the testimony portion of this hearing begins, those who wish to testify can raise their hand and you will be called on when it's your turn. For those who are attending in person, a microphone will be passed to you when it is your turn to speak. And for those who are attending virtually, you will be unmuted when it is your turn to speak. If you're joining us via telephone only, you may raise your hand by pressing *9 on your telephone keypad. Please wait until the testimony portion of this hearing to raise your hand. You may raise your hand at any time during the testimony portion of the hearing. We will call on you to provide your oral testimony when it is your turn to speak. Written testimony and comments may be submitted as well and will be considered with the same weight as oral testimony. Following the testimony portion of this hearing, we will hold a question and answer session if time allows. During that time, you may raise your hand to ask a question, or you are welcome to type your question in the chat box by clicking on the chat icon at the bottom of your screen in the virtual platform. Tonight's hearing is being held pursuant to Section 49-53 of the Montgomery County Code. The purpose of this public hearing is to obtain resident testimony and comments regarding the potential project, to assist in determining if the project is in the best interest of the public and whether or not it should be authorized for construction in its entirety or any portion thereof. This forum allows you to provide testimony about the project either in support or in opposition. Testimony and comments received may influence the final design. Your testimony and comments should be focused entirely on the project, which is the topic of discussion. All interested parties are entitled to be heard at this hearing. However, the testimony portion of the hearing is not a forum for dialogue, questions and answers, or cross-examination. Please direct your remarks to the specific project that is the subject of this hearing. If comments stray into areas not related to the project, I will ask that you refocus your comments on the subject of this project. Following the conclusion of this public hearing, the record will remain open for 1 month to allow any person who was unable to attend this hearing an opportunity to have their comments included in the public record and be fully considered. The official closing date by which all written testimony and comments must be received is Friday, January 12th, 2014 at 6:30 p.m. Submissions should be provided by the online comment form at the following link, which is seen on your screen, or email to Angel Chang at angel.chang@montgomerycountymd.gov by the close of the hearing record. Please be sure to provide your name and property address on your submission. Written submissions will be considered with the same weight as oral testimony. After the hearing is concluded and the record is officially closed, I, as the hearing officer, will review and weigh all the information submitted into the public record and make a recommendation to the Director of Montgomery County Department of Transportation, Christopher Conklin, for his decision regarding the final detailed design of the project. And now to discuss the replacement of Amherst Bikeway, I'll pass it along to Joe Tamana.
Good evening, Mr. McLaughlin, ladies and gentlemen. For the record, I am Joe Tamano with the Montgomery County Department of Transportation, Division of Transportation Engineering. The subject of this evening's public hearing is to consider a proposal to construct the Amherst Avenue Bikeway and other associated work at the approaches. For your convenience, we have posted a few downloadable displays that will aid in the visual description of this project on the project website. We will review them as I describe the project. Display A is a project vicinity map showing Amherst Avenue in Wheaton. The blue line represents the project limits of the Amherst Avenue Bikeway on Amherst Avenue from Wyndham Lane to Arcola Avenue. The total length of the proposed bicycle facilities will be approximately 1.1 miles long. Next slide. Display B shows the improvements in more detail. The large plan shown on the screen can be downloaded for review. For tonight's presentation, we will use zoomed in images of the plan as I highlight several of the key features. The next several slides will show the Amherst Avenue Bikeway in more detail. Each of these slides include a key map in the upper left corner that shows what segment of the path we are discussing. In the upper right corner of the slide is a legend highlighting what the various colors and line styles are showing. The proposed two-way cycle track is shown along southbound Amherst Avenue. The light green shaded area represents the grass buffer and green spaces, and the light gray shading indicates the proposed concrete. Finally, the white lines indicate the existing public right-of-way line. Display B1. Beginning at the intersection with Wyndham Lane, an 8-foot wide two-way cycle track with a 3-foot wide buffer will be on the southbound side of Amherst Avenue. On-street parking area will be 8 foot wide on both sides of the street, and existing parking restrictions will remain the same. In addition, the travel lanes will be narrowed down to 10.5 feet wide. Next slide. Display C1 depicts the typical sections of Amherst Avenue corresponding to display B1 from Wyndham Lane to Pritchard Road. The top typical section is what exists today, and the bottom typical section illustrates the proposed 8-foot wide two-way cycle track with a 3-foot buffer along southbound Amherst Avenue. The on-street parking area will be 8 foot wide on both sides of the street, and the travel lanes in both directions will be narrowed down to 10.5 feet wide. Display B2. The 8-foot wide two-way cycle track with a 2-foot wide buffer continues on southbound Amherst Avenue through Pritchard Road and Reedy Drive. On-street parking areas will be 8 foot wide on both sides of the street, where southbound parking will remain as long-term metered parking, and the permeable pavement will be used to construct the parking bays for residential permit parking along northbound Amherst Avenue. Sidewalk along northbound Amherst Avenue will also be reconstructed to 5 foot wide to comply with the ADA requirements and county standards. Next slide. Display C2 shows the typical sections corresponding to display B2 between Pritchard Road and Reedy Drive. Again, the top typical section is what exists today. The bottom typical section illustrates the 8 foot wide two-way cycle track with a 2 foot buffer and 8 foot parking areas on both sides of the street, as well as the travel lanes to be narrowed down to 10.5 feet wide in both directions. Next slide. Display B3. The 8 foot wide two-way cycle track with a 2 foot wide buffer continues on southbound Amherst Avenue through University Boulevard between Reedy Drive and Blue Ridge Avenue. On-street parking areas will be 7.5 feet wide on both sides of the street, and parking meters will remain. In addition, the travel lanes will be narrowed down to 11 feet wide. Floating bus stop, floating bus stop is proposed near the Amherst Avenue parking garage. The intersection at University Boulevard will become a protected intersection featuring corner islands, bike queue areas, as well as bike signals to accommodate crossing University Boulevard on the proposed two-way cycle track. The traffic signal at this intersection will also be reconstructed with massed armed traffic signals and a new signal timing plan and phasing, as well as upgraded sidewalk and curb ramps. At the intersection, northbound traffic will have one left turn lane and a through and a right lane, while southbound traffic will have one left turn lane, a through lane, and an exclusive right turn lane. Next slide. Display C3 shows the typical sections corresponding to display B3 between Reedy Drive and Blue Ridge Avenue, beyond the intersection approach at University Boulevard. Again, the top typical section is what exists today. The bottom typical section illustrates the 8 foot wide two-way cycle track with a 3 foot buffer on southbound Amherst Avenue, the 7.5 foot meter parking area on both sides of the street, as well as travel lanes to be narrowed down to 11 feet wide in both directions. Next slide. Display C4 also shows the typical section corresponding to display B3 at the north leg approach with the University Boulevard intersection. Again, the top typical section is what exists today. The bottom typical section illustrates the 8 foot wide two-way cycle track with a 3 foot buffer at the same elevation as the proposed sidewalk for southbound traffic, an 8 foot wide right turn lane, 11 foot wide through lane, and a 10 foot wide left turn lane, and for northbound traffic, a 12 foot wide through lane. Display B4. The 8 foot wide two-way cycle track with a 2 foot wide buffer continues on southbound Amherst Avenue through Blue Ridge and Avenue and Elkin Street and ends at Arcola Avenue. On-street parking will be 7.5 foot wide on both sides of the street. In addition, the travel lanes will be 11 foot wide. Sidewalk along southbound Amherst Avenue will also be reconstructed to 5 feet wide to comply with the ADA requirements and county standards. Floating bus stops are proposed near Blue Ridge Avenue and Elkin Street. Two proposed bioretention facilities near Arcola Avenue will treat stormwater runoff during rain events and provide better drainage pattern. Finally, the Arcola Avenue intersection will be reconstructed to include bike crossing, traffic signals on mast arms with new signal timing and phasing, as well as curb ramps and pedestrian crossing. Display 5.3 shows the typical section corresponding to display B4 between Blue Ridge Avenue and Arcola Avenue. Again, the top typical section is what exists today. The bottom typical section illustrates the 5-foot sidewalk, the 8-foot wide two-way cycle track with a 3-foot buffer on southbound Amherst Avenue, the 7-foot wide parking areas on both sides of the street, as well as travel lanes to be narrowed down to 11 feet wide in both directions. This slide shows an example of a bioretention facility and permeable parking bay constructed previously in Montgomery County. The proposed bioretention facility and permeable parking bay will look similar to the pictures shown here. This slide shows an example of a floating bus stop in downtown Silver Spring. The proposed floating bus stop will look similar. This slide shows a photo simulation of the proposed two-way cycle track on Amherst Avenue. The total project cost is currently estimated at $5,900,000, including engineering, land acquisition for fee simple, perpetual easement, and temporary construction easement, utility relocations, construction, and construction management costs. The design of the project began in spring of 2019 and is expected to be completed in the summer of 2024. The construction is anticipated to begin in the spring of 2025. The project cost, funding, and schedule are subject to change as the project progresses until it is complete. Pursuant to Section 49-52 of the Montgomery County Code, there are no properties which are considered to be specially benefited by the proposed improvement. Therefore, no properties are expected to be assessed. Several exhibits are incorporated into the public record binder for your information and consideration. These exhibits are 1. The approved fiscal year 2024 project description form for Capital Improvement Program CIP number 502002. Bicycle Pedestrian Priority Area Improvements, Wheaton CBD. 2. The design plans at the level of 90% completion with the latest revisions. 3. Written testimony provided prior to and after this public hearing to be added following this hearing. 4. Washington Times newspaper, online advertisement proof, and Montgomery County government press release. 5. List of attendees to be added following this hearing. 6. Hearing transcript, also to be added following the hearing. Project-related data and files can be downloaded from the project website at https://www.montgomerycounty.md.gov/dot/project/Amherst Avenue. The files will continue to be available to the public until the record for this public hearing is officially closed. As previously stated, here with us this evening are Ms. Rebecca Park and Ms. Angel Cheng of MCDOT. In addition, we have Mr. Steve Zinder, Mr. Robert Milstead, and Ms. Uma Kota from the engineering consulting firm Stantec present at this hearing. We will be available after the hearing to answer any questions regarding the construction aspects of this project. And now I'll turn things back to Mr. Phil McLaughlin.
Thanks, Jose. We will now hear your testimony. We'll now hear testimony from those in attendance who wish to testify. If you wish to testify, please raise your hand both in person and virtually, and we will call on you in the order that your hand was raised. Alternatively, if you join the meeting by phone, you may dial *9 from your telephone keypad to let us know that you wish to testify. Once you are invited to speak, please clearly provide your name and address for the record prior to beginning your testimony. We will begin with those who wish to testify now. Again, please be sure to announce your name and property address before providing your testimony. Now we are going to hear testimony. So if I get assistance, is Lori, are you
I'm
going to
here,
go?
yes.
Okay.
I do have a hand raised. Did we want to alternate between people in the room on site and the Zoom?
I think that makes a lot of sense, yeah.
So Angel, do you want to start with the people on site or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, we can start with one of them. Whoever
Okay.
want to testify. You don't have to, but you probably have to speak in the mic because other people can't hear you.
My name is Adam Carlesco. I live at 10904 Bucknell Drive, which is just on Amherst Avenue, just south of Pritchard. And so I rely upon walking and biking and transit for transportation. I personally don't own a car. I'm here to express my kind of overall support for the project, but a particular dismay at the current handling of the cycle track project. What started as a forward-thinking initiative has been a drawn-out, inefficient endeavor that stretched on for 6 years now, won't be completed for 8. And so all this effort, amendments to accommodate essentially 13 parking spaces. These are public spaces right next to a metro station, an underutilized parking garage, and on-street parking is on the literal other side of the street. They're being revamped at expensive utility cost, specifically to benefit personal homeowners in low-density area right in the middle of what is designated as essentially a downtown area under Thrive 2050. So I see it a little baffling how much the county and the MCDOT is bending over backwards to accommodate low-density single-family residents in a town of about 20,000. And so what we're seeing is what should have been a pretty quick, cost-effective multimodal transportation project has turned into a pretty overblown, delayed, massive, $5.9 million infrastructure project. And so this cycle track, I would like to see it done as quickly as possible. I thought last time I looked at this was going to be done this past October before it got blown out. And this cycle track is crucial to a lot of residents in the downtown Wheaton area who depend on non-automotive means to get around, to reach the metro, to reach groceries, to reach schools, the mall, the library. This promises a safer and more connected way to get around the county. And it's in alignment with MoCo's climate and transportation goals. This project's taken far too long. If we are going to bend over backwards to accommodate a handful of parking spaces next to massive parking garages in the middle of an urban core that's being designated by a master plan, and it's going to take nearly a decade, we are never going to meet any of our goals that we've listed out in our transportation plans, in our pedestrian master plans, in our bike master plans, in our Thrive 2050 master plans, if we keep accommodating automotive infrastructure like this, and at taxpayer dollars to benefit private property. I mean, look at this. We're extending the private right-of-way to start purchasing from these people so we can put parking in front of their own private homes, each of which has a driveway. And it's the same thing on the other end. Going in front of large condos that have parking lots, the Wheaton area is like 50% parking and car infrastructure. This is not the way to do it. I would like to see this project done as quickly as possible and to benefit anyone who doesn't want to be in a personal automobile or tethered to the costs of what it takes. We are connected to a metro system. We have a bus depot in the middle of downtown. This is within the downtown area. This needs to get done, and we need to cut the cost of trying to put in complete utility reroutes to accommodate private parking. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori?
Yes, next we'll hear from Glenn Burnett. Glenn, can you unmute yourself?
Hi, yeah. My name is Glenn Burnett. I live at 1017 Loxford Terrace, and I guess our neighborhood's got a really funky designation in terms of names, but we're probably about a mile off of the planned route. I pretty regularly, if when I get the opportunity to be able to bike, I bike my kid to school. I've been able to bike my other kid to daycare and things like that. And we actually cross this route, like we're obligated to do that every time that we want to go somewhere. And I just want to once again come on and really voice my support for this infrastructure that's being built, and also support the last speaker in terms of just saying, like, this is a great opportunity for Wheaton to become a little bit better. This allows people to be able to have access that that frankly is not a very complicated thing, and I think that it's really important that we actually just allow people to have this. I do want to flag that for where these locations are at, and there needs to be continued discussion about some of the connecting lines that this cycle track will then connect up to. So there is a space in between Amherst and then as you're heading towards downtown Silver Spring, there's a space where there's I think it's a MedStar Health facility and and the Maryland Department of Health, and I think it's like mental health or something like that. That basically makes it really, it goes from a passable space to something where you basically just have to go and get onto Georgia to be able to do this. I know that is not part of the exact plan that's being built here, but I think it's really important that you consider the connections that these routes are taking, so that when you're making these things happen, you also allow people to be able to use it. So we're not having a situation like we did with the bike lane on University Boulevard, where it goes up to almost the place where it's useful and doesn't actually doesn't allow the bicyclists to get where they actually need to go. So that's my point for tonight. Also, you guys rock. Just want to let you all know that. Thank you for doing this work.
Thank you, Glenn.
All right.
Angela?
Do we have anyone attending in person who would like to testify orally right now? You can raise your hand.
Hi, my name's Timothy Ernst. I live at 10616 Dunkirk Drive, which is about a mile south of this building. I am really glad this project is being built. I wish we had more of these projects on the drawing board in Montgomery County. I think, to the gentleman's point, parking rules the world, especially in the United States of America, where we have somewhere between 2 to 3 billion parking spaces for 330 million cars. That's about 7 parking spaces for each motor vehicle in the United States. Great book by a guy named Henry Graybar, Paved Parking. Everyone, if you're my age, you know Joni Mitchell. Awesome book about how parking rules the world. However, this is great stuff. I ride to the grocery store, I ride to the post office, I ride my bike to the library, the beautiful Wheaton Library and Community Center. Pedestrians, we need pedestrian safety in the county. This should be part of the vision, to have fewer pedestrian deaths. These projects narrow roadways and they slow us all down. So if I'm in my car, I'm forced to slow down. I have to slow down. I have to start paying more attention to people on bikes, people in wheelchairs who are crossing these intersections, people walking, senior citizens. So these types of projects, which are happening in Europe, in South America, all over the world, are there to help people get around safely. And frankly, we all need to do a better job of getting out of our cars. And I'll include myself in that. So thanks to the Department of Transportation for doing this project. I'm sorry it took so long also, but maybe this is a model for how we can move ahead. Maybe we can get a bikeway on Dennis Avenue, which would then connect Amherst from Dennis in front of the health center down to the Sligo Creek Trail. I I'm sure this will eventually get us to the public library in a safe and effective way. I'm hopeful. So I think it's a great start. I think the Department of Transportation deserves our thanks, and let's keep moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori, we'll pass it to you.
Okay. Yep. Next, we'll hear from Ben Jarrett.
Hi, my name's Ben Jarrett. I live at 11101 Amherst Avenue. I live in one of the single family homes between Pritchard and Reedy. I guess sort of regarding slowing down, like what the last gentleman mentioned, I had hoped to see maybe some crosswalks and speed humps in that section, because we frequently do have a lot of fast travelers. I didn't see that in this iteration of the plan. I also have a concern about the permeable parking bays, and I guess I don't know. Am I able to share a screen to share a video of what it looks like when it rains on the northbound side of the street?
Sorry.
Is there a way to submit that afterwards?
Yes, you can email it to the project manager, Angel, and that her
Okay.
contact information will be displayed on one of the upcoming slides.
Okay. So I corresponded with Angel a few months ago about it, and she presented to me that there was likely going to be a gutter system that could potentially sort of separate the permeable bays from the street to take on excess stormwater. I didn't see that in the diagrams here. I'm not concerned necessarily about home value, but concerned about damaging my foundation and my basement that's currently where I'm talking to you from now. I just have a concern that the permeable bays are going to allow water from the road to be absorbed, that it's not just going to segment it off. And I really hope that the team does something to address that. Thanks.
Thank you, Ben.
Wow.
Okay, Angel.
Go to the in person. Anyone would like to?
My name is Andrew Bizdega, architect, owner of 11009 Amherst Avenue. First of all, I would like to say I am very much I very much like this project. I support it. However, I would like to point out that my house, along with those others that apparently are entitled homeowners, are actually outside the central business district. They're zoned residential, and to maintain that residential feel and actual zoning, generally you have on-street parking. Regardless, we're losing our landscape buffer to give up to accommodate parking, which we require. I myself have a 5-year-old son, an elderly mom, as I know a lot of the residents there do as well. The last thing we need is having a bunch of kids running across the street to get to our houses, along with elderly people. So to reiterate the last speaker's comments, crosswalks would be very much helpful on that section of Amherst, as well as some sort of speed regulations, speed humps, something like that, because we live on a hill. Speeding is a huge issue. It's very dangerous to tread across the street there. And that's it for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori?
All right. Next, we'll hear from Steve Solomon.
Hi, my name is Steve Solomon. I live at 11605 Yateman Terrace, just down Arcola. I am not a biker myself. I am a automobile driver. I was not in favor of the bike lanes at University Boulevard. I thought they were completely put in the wrong place and were not used and did not connect things. This project seems much more sensible, going past the metro station and connecting a major road and whatnot. And so, and as an automobile driver primarily, I am very concerned with the safety of bicyclists who are on roads and now will be much more safer. So I am in favor of this project. We also have a current project of bus lanes on University Boulevard, which don't really connect to this, but we'll go through it. The question and issue I have is that we are just on the heels of a statewide $3 billion transportation shortfall over the next 6 years that looks like will cut several projects statewide and will, of course, trickle down to the county. So I'm concerned that any money we spend may mean other projects will not be allowed to happen. And what this means for our county, of course, it's the state budget, but we know that means a lot towards Montgomery County. So $5.9 million is a lot of money to me and to a lot of people. And I don't know how the county's plans over the next several years will be affected as far as any and all projects, which all need to be reevaluated based on what money is coming in from the state. So that's the main concern for me too, is that the money will not be coming in anymore, and what effects that will have on many county-wide projects. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go to
Hi, I'm Nina Coltnow, 2314 Parker Avenue. I live with my husband Louis, just north of the Wheaton Library. And to the point somebody was making a few speakers ago, it would be nice to get between the library and downtown Wheaton safely. It is treacherous, as everybody knows, I think, to walk, bike, roll, be a toddler on Georgia Avenue. It's really not supportable. So I'm completely in favor of this project. And I did want to mention also, in terms of getting to the library, this is where the bike lanes will end. The bike lanes on Arcola currently, which are great east of here, don't continue up the road to the library. But this is a county DOT right-of-way that I know is under consideration for being paved. It's used heavily as a walking path right now, although it's not possible for anybody who's not a pretty pale soul to walk on it. But it goes north for 3 blocks to connect up with Shorefield. It doesn't end at Shorefield, it ends at Henderson, which connects to Shorefield. But getting that made into a bikeable and walkable right-of-way would go a long way toward connecting everybody really from Glenmont on down in a safe way. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Nina. Lori?
I do not have anyone else right now.
Do we have anyone in person? Okay.
Yes, my name is Mike Swinski. I live at 11366 King George Drive. So I'm right off of University Boulevard, and I really appreciated that the effort was made when the bike lanes were put in, when you had the sticks in the middle of the street, so you can ride from, over at Amherst all the way down to Sligo Creek, and you were pretty much separated from the rest of the traffic. I know this is a separate issue, but what I like about this is it's taken into consideration trying to slow down the traffic, create a separate dedicated lane where the bicyclists can be. But my concern would be the trucks that are going to Safeway, that are on Amherst, and just the general flow of traffic over at Reedy. Because I walk from the metro and I see it in the morning, I see it in the evening, and I just see the people just going through the stop signs. What will be done with that would be consideration of mine. Overall, with the project, to the previous gentleman's point about the transportation budget being cut, I'd be curious to know what kind of studies have been done of how many people are actually going to use this, and what is the cost benefit. You were spending nearly $6 million on this project. You look at the Purple Line, you look at the transportation center in the Silver Spring, $6 million now. When it's all done, will be $9 million. It's an awful lot of money to spend for how many people are going to be benefiting from this. Even though I'm a cyclist, I like the project, but I just wonder cost benefit analysis for the whole thing.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else
No, we do
attending
not.
in person who would like to? Oh, thanks, Lori.
It's
Do
all
we have
right.
anyone attending in person who would like to speak? Once, twice. Anyone attending virtually? Bill, we can pass it back to you.
Okay, thanks. That concludes the speakers who have expressed an interest in speaking tonight. As a reminder, written testimony and comments may be submitted as well and will be considered with the same weight as oral testimony. We appreciate all your testimony. Seeing that everyone who wishes to speak has had an opportunity to do so, this concludes the oral testimony portion of this public hearing. Now, we will move into the question and answer session. Again, please raise your hand or press *9 on your telephone keypad if you wish to ask a question. You are welcome to type your questions in the chat box. If we run out of time before answering all questions in the chat box, questions will be answered via email in the coming days. Does anyone have any questions?
I have one in person.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Eric Neenan at 1939 Westchester Drive. So, echoing the comment made earlier, do we have any idea what the anticipated usage of the bikeway will be?
Can I use both mic? Okay. I mean, Jose, do you have any? Yeah, Matt. I'd like to introduce Matt Johnson. He's our bikeway coordinator from MCDOT. He has a lot of experiences with.
Thank you, Angel. Yeah, so the question is if we have any idea what the ridership, the use will be on this project. And we don't have great modeling for bikes really at this time because we don't have a network. So I want you to imagine the metro, right? The metro, I took the metro here to this meeting this evening. I'm sure most of you in this room, probably everyone, but I don't want to hazard a guess, but probably everyone in this room and probably everyone in the Zoom has ridden the metro and has found it useful at least at some point. And we can imagine maybe the metro going farther out, being more useful to us, the purple line maybe being useful to us. We can imagine those, even though we don't necessarily know maybe exactly how many people are, we can estimate that because we have this history, right? But if we imagine back to 1976, when the metro only went from Rhode Island Avenue to Farragut North, out here in Montgomery County, there was no metro. People in Wheaton might have said, what is this useful to? I have to drive all the way downtown before I can even get on the metro, right? It doesn't go where I need it to go. By the time I get downtown, I'm already downtown. Why am I getting the subway, right? And it took a good 20 years for that metro line to get out to Wheaton, right? That's the state we have right now of bicycling in Montgomery County. We have little pieces of the network here, little pieces of the network there. Some of them connect, some of them don't. But we're working on building that network out. And there's sort of an aphorism, a cliche in planning that says we don't judge the demand for a bridge by counting the number of people swimming across the river, right? We can tell that people want to go from point A to point B because we know that there's a major demand area here in downtown Wheaton. There's jobs here. There's jobs in Silver Spring. There's a metro station here. There's a lot of housing around here. So we can do the same kind of modeling we do for vehicular trips and say, we know where people live. We know people work. We know people shop. We know people go to school. And we can use those numbers to get an estimate of kind of where the demand is. But until the network gets built out, it's hard to say exactly how many people are going to use this. So we're going to build this Amherst piece. But as one of the commenters mentioned, there's kind of a gap between here and Silver Spring. So someone who wants to bike from Wheaton to Silver Spring can't easily get there yet. But we have a bicycle master plan. So over the next 30 or 40 years, we're going to be building out more and more of the network. So this becomes a more useful project. So if you don't see hordes of bicyclists on day one, it doesn't mean that this is a failed project, right? We look at this not just as a bike project, but also as a pedestrian project and as a safety project, as an accessibility project, right? We're doing these things to improve intersections. It wasn't really talked about, but we're building islands and corner islands at these intersections to reduce what's called the exposure so that pedestrians aren't exposed. So even if not a single bicyclist use this, we still improve pedestrian safety. But bicyclists will use this. And we know this because in other parts of the county, when we have built separated bike facilities, even ones that are very isolated in the network, we have seen increases year over year of bicyclists. Now, unfortunately, we've been building a lot of the network. That part's not unfortunate. It's great that we're building the network out. But unfortunately, a lot of the network has come online in the last 2 or 3 years, right? And it's hard to judge numbers when we've had this global pandemic, right? So we count bikes every year at the same locations, and we usually add locations as more facilities get built. And we have a lot of great data from 2019, and then we see this huge drop off in 2020, and this huge drop off in 2021, right? But we also saw that in car trips. So it's hard to say we built this bike facility and people didn't use it because people aren't commuting as much. But we know that in the future people are going to make these trips, and we know that people are going to be making trips because not every trip is. If you think about it, most trips that you make are not your commute trip, right? You go to work in the morning, you go to work, you come home from work in the afternoon. That's 2 trips. But you go to the supermarket, you go to a restaurant, you go to your neighbor's house, you go to church, you go to school. These are all trips that you make. And so bike trips, we're not necessarily saying in order to use Amherst, you have to commute to downtown DC. You might just be biking over to Wheaton Plaza or biking down to the library up here. So there's all those trips that people can make, whether they're working, whether they are returning to work every day or not. So the answer is we don't have a good concrete number, but we do know that when we build low stress bike facilities, it does increase. And we've seen increases of over 100% on some of our projects in Silver Spring, where we're more than doubling the number of people who are using these facilities. But again, the network is still very incomplete and very stunted. So it's hard to judge from that, but we know that there's demand. We can see that demand. So that was kind of a long answer and not a very concrete answer, but unfortunately, that's kind of the state of where things are now. But if we look at DC, we have seen huge increases where their network is much more complete than ours because they've been doing it a little bit longer than us. And they have fewer miles to build because it's a denser place. You can connect a lot more of the city with fewer miles than you can in Montgomery County. But we have seen major increases in DC, and we expect to see similar treatments here or similar increases here.
What's the definition of major increase? Like, you have any numbers?
I mean, I can't give you a number. What I can tell you is we know that there's the demand here. And the question is, I guess what you're trying to get at is a kind of a value statement. And for me, what I would say is that these are all safety projects, right? We want people to be able to get out of their cars and bike. We want people to be able to get out of their cars and walk or take transit. It's vital to the future of our planet that we reduce our reliance on cars. And for a lot of people, they don't see that option. And because they don't have a sidewalk in front of their house, they don't have a bike lane in front of their house. Like, I'll just give my parents' example. They don't live in Montgomery County, but they require a car for every trip. They can't walk anywhere. And my dad just lost his driver's license. My mom's getting older, and I say, how can you keep living here when so people want options. And so this is not a matter of we're going to have 5,000 cyclists a day out here, so we have to build this, right? This is about creating mobility, and it's about saving lives. We have an endemic problem. 40,000 Americans die every year in car crashes. 40,000. It's a huge number of lost lives, lost productivity, and a lost future. And there are deaths. I don't know what the numbers are in Montgomery County, but there are deaths every year in Montgomery County on our roads, and we have adopted Vision Zero. So this is about more than just saying we're getting a lot of people out here. It's about saying we're improving safety, we're improving connectivity, and it is going to take time to change the county because we spent 7 decades building without any regard really to pedestrians and bicyclists. And so that network is incomplete. So I don't have a concrete number for you, but we do expect this to be heavily used, especially as more of the network gets built out. But we have to look farther into the future for that.
Thank you, Matt. Do we have a question online that we want to address, Lori?
I do have someone that would like to ask a question. Next we'll hear from.
Why don't we alternate?
Okay.
No, Lori, would you like to call the person?
Okay, I wasn't sure if I was. Okay. No, so next we'll hear from Ben Jarrett.
Hi, just a question regarding the presentation portion. If I remember, did I hear right that between Pritchard and Reedy, the sidewalks are gonna change to 5 feet wide to meet ADA standards?
That is correct.
Okay, so and that's both sides of the street, both sides of Amherst?
I think this only single family side of Amherst.
Okay, the on display C2, it still shows, I think it says 4.5 feet on there. So I just wanted to confirm that should be 5.
So I think there's a typo on on one of the display. So yes.
Okay.
And we apologize for that. It should be 5 feet wide.
Okay, glad to hear it, especially with the buffers, some of the buffers being taken away and the sidewalks are narrow as they are now. Sometimes people even have to move out of the way into a yard or a buffer to let just people walking by through. So I'm glad to hear that's extended. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jim, and I've been coming in and out, so I apologize. Maybe this has already been answered, but obviously this project has been in planning for a long period of time, and it's nice to see that it's moving forward. Can you or somebody give us kind of a realistic time frame, both in terms of money and time frame for implementation, considering there are cutbacks and DOT has to make priorities, et cetera? Where are we in this process? I know originally they had tried to move it up faster a year, but now has that changed? So where are we really at with this program?
Yes.
Thank you.
So this project is funded by the Wheaton BIPA program, which is the bicycle pedestrian bicycle priority area. And it's fully funded for construction. We do have the money for the construction of this project. So in terms of timeline, again, we are scheduled to finish final design by summer of 2024, just in a couple months. And then from there, we have to, coordinate with utility companies that might be impacted, and also, with property owners that might be impacted because we're reconstructing some of their driveway that is fronting their property. So that process typically take anywhere between 9 to 12 months, and that's why construction can't really start until the spring of 2025. Now, from there, the actual construction can last anywhere between 12 to 18 months, depending on the weather. And God forbid it's snowing out that year, that will put us a little bit longer in terms of construction time frame. But because this is a linear project, not the whole Amherst will be impacted at a time. So obviously we'll construct this piece by piece, so that we won't be impacting the residents and people who are traveling this area during the whole construction time.
Real quickly, please say the money there. That means that it's in the CIP and it's been approved and allocated?
Yes. So the question was whether the money is in the CIP. Yes, the money is in the CIP already, and it's been approved.
I had please. And the grant were in this budget?
Yes. Yes, so the question was about the Grandview Avenue project. So the Grandview Avenue project is currently on hold. Again, we have to rethink our budget. And as we just show everyone that the cost of this project has risen quite a bit because of inflation. Design and the different intricacy that we have to in order for this project to be viable for most of the resident here. So so the Grandview project is currently on hold until further notice. So thank you. Okay. Yes. Would you like? It is actually 4.5 feet. Okay. So I just want to clarify the previous question about the sidewalk. And I apologize for the confusion. So it's instead of the proposed 5 feet, we're actually proposing 4.5 feet because of the right of way issue. So and if you have further comments or questions, feel free to raise your hand again, and we can get those. Lori, do we have anyone online that raised their hand?
Actually, Ben Jarrett has another question. Ben?
Yeah, thanks. So I noticed, if I noticed correctly, that some of the parking on different stretches were 7.5 feet rather than 8. Did you guys consider, is it an option to take a half foot away from one or both of the parking sides to widen that sidewalk a little bit. Because like I said
Yeah,
before,
so
it's pretty tight.
yeah, we understand that. So if you look into those particular section, the traveling for those sections is also 11 foot instead of 10.5 feet. Now the reason for those section is because those section has both the ride-on bus and the metro bus that goes through that area, and we've been coordinating with both our transit services and the WMATA buses, and they requested us to keep it at 11 feet at the minimum so that their bus can safely traverse over those area. But we understand that, we kind of have to do a trade-off between the two. And if we reduce the traveling to 10.5 and increase to 8 feet for the parking, it'll put the bus really close to your parking too. So you're just giving them a little bit more room for the bus to travel through. So does that answer your question, Ben? We'll go for a question here in person. Sorry, we have to ask everyone to speak in the mic because we want the people who are attending in person to listen to you.
Dan Upjohn at 11018 Cone Lane. So I noticed you're going to be reconfiguring the University Amherst, I guess, crosswalks there. So right now, in front of the veterinary clinic, that button is very hard to push. One, will that be improved? And two, for that intersection, do we even need, push buttons for the pedestrians rather than just have it automatic? Because there really is enough pedestrian traffic there to justify it, rather than being, second to, road traffic.
Okay, so your first question is about the push button in front of the veterinary hospital. So yes, we are reconstructing that whole area so that the button will be accessible to anyone, really, and then increasing the pedestrian area more, because I know how tight it is between the utility poles and the fence and the bushes. That really isn't enough to call it ADA compliant. So we will be upgrading those. That area in particular. Now, in terms of whether pushing button or not, I think we are designing to have the push button regardless. So I think people are still used to pushing it regardless, and it would just and that's the programming thing. So we can easily turn it on if that's if we have enough demand. I think it was just
people cross without it. So.
And we can consider that. Matt, do you want to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on that. Even if the signals are on recall, which is when they're automatic, like in downtown Silver Spring, we still have to have a push button because someone who's deaf and blind has to know when the signal's crossing. And so those buttons, if you're deaf and blind, you push the button and you keep your hand there, and it vibrates when the walk sign comes on. So even if the signals are on recall, meaning they're automatic, there's still a button there. And frequently, if you're in downtown Silver Spring, for example, you don't have to push those buttons. I actually had someone who complained to us one time who said, I can't believe you guys make pedestrians push the button, because every time she got there, she pushed the button. And I said, if you just show up and don't push the button, the walk sign's still going to come on. But we have to have the buttons there for people who have disabilities. So you're always going to see the buttons. There always has to be a button there. But whether they're on recall, meaning they're automatic or not, is a programming issue, which we can change.
We can change.
Even if even if it's not installed or is installed, we can change it in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that would pretty much apply for all of downtown. So so
yes. All right. Just 1 second. Lori, do we have anyone raising their hand online?
I do not.
Okay. We'll go with someone in person.
I was wondering if maybe Matt could just talk to us and educate us about, in general, how redesigning this entire intersection at University Boulevard and Amherst Avenue will make it safer for everybody. I mean, automobile drivers, it'll be safer. It'll be safer for pedestrians, because now I use that intersection a lot as a pedestrian. I see young people, older people. I see people, trying to cross this intersection, and it's very dangerous. So maybe someone could give us a big picture of why this project, it isn't just for bicyclists. I mean, I'm a bicyclist, I'm a pedestrian, I'm a driver. I do all these things. Can someone please explain?
Sure. Yeah.
how all these things
Yeah.
work together to make everyone safer?
Yeah. So it might be hard for everyone to see. So if you would like to come closer, or you can look at it later. Oh, we can do the slide thing because we have technology. If it works. Except it doesn't work. Oh, we went to the wrong direction. Okay, right here. All right, so again, we're talking about the intersection at University Boulevard and Amherst Avenue. We're completely redesigning this intersection, including the traffic signal. Here you can we have the proposed two-way cycle track on the top of the screen, which is the west side of Amherst Avenue. We're adding corner islands to tightening the curb radius for this whole intersection. Now, how does that help in terms of safety? Now, well, we with a tighter corner radius, it forces vehicles, drivers to turn much slower. And these corner vehicle also have truck apron where it'll help a larger vehicle to make those turns. So it will make the intersection much safer when everyone is approaching it slowly and making the turn slowly. And it will increase the time for people to look for pedestrian also. We're restriping all four corners for the crosswalk, as well as adding the bike crossing here. We're also adding a bike signal for this intersection so that bike signal is same as a traffic signal, but it's for bikes. So basically, it'll give a signal, a green bikes kind of little light bulb when it's ready for when it's safe for bike to go. So the new signal facing and timing will include a phase for the cyclists to cross University Boulevard safely. And we're also adding no turn on red for this intersection so that it'll be safe for both pedestrian and cyclists who will be crossing University and Amherst, really. And yeah, we're reconstructing the sidewalk approaches for these. The curb ramps will be reconstructed so that it will meet ADA compliance. APS signal push button will be included. And yeah, I think that's kind of a high level of what this intersection will look like for the future. So, any question following up?
Not on that specific intersection, but I am curious about this Pritchard and Amherst intersection. Are these curb bump outs to tighten the turn radius?
Yes.
Why have the county not considered, as other people have mentioned, either speed tables? Because this is a downhill slope meeting a downhill slope, and I have to cross this every single day, and I swear I'm going to get hit one day unless something is done to physically curtail that. I understand it's like a narrower lane, but I went to the Netherlands. Speed tables do this. You don't even need a stop sign to do it. So there and at the Reedy intersection, it's the same story on both of those.
Yeah, and we can take a look at it and see if it is feasible. But one of the things that we have to consider when we adding speed table or speed bump in general is that whether the drainage will work. Because a lot of times when we raise a certain area, we have to consider how the waters flow when it rains. So we don't want to make the road flood just because of that. But we can take a look at it and again and see if it is possible. We can potentially consider a raised crosswalk if that's that could help. But again, we will have to look at the drainage area and to make sure that the water will flow when it rains. So okay. What anyone? Okay.
So as part of the master plan, once this is put in place, what is the next step that you're aware of at this point to take it and do something perpendicular that'll take you west of here? Because you're mentioning Wheaton Plaza, mentioning downtown shopping, but essentially once you leave that bike lane and you head west, you're dealing with Reedy, you're dealing with University, they're both very unsafe to bicycle on.
Yeah, so for the Wheaton CBD area, there is a plan, bicycle network on both, actually on Reedy, as well as on Blue Ridge, which is north of from University. Again, those are kind of like a long-term plan of what we're trying to do to connect. And this gentleman also mentioned Grandview, which is another pieces to connect people on bikes to downtown Wheaton. And so there are so many things that we have in the plan. We only have limited funding, and with things being more expensive, our next piece is actually it will probably be Blue Ridge actually to in terms of a east-west connection. So that will be upcoming. I don't know when yet. Again, we have to we look at our budget for the whole transportation in general, or just funding in general. But there is a planned network for Wheaton, downtown Wheaton in general. So that's a good question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Following up on that and coordinating it with something else, both of these obviously intersect with an SHA property. And SHA has been promoting this university corridor thing, which will terminate right where you are here. So I guess the question is the coordination there. I know that's a longer term plan theoretically. If you're gonna, I don't know how that timing is going to work out, but what is the coordination between SHA and MCDOT for this particular intersection where University of Amherst is, which is a terminus for their project?
Yeah, so we've been coordinating with them for this particular intersection. We have submitted our traffic impact statement to them. They have looked into our preliminary design and approved of it. So moving forward, we just have to get their blessing on the final design. And then obviously throughout construction, we have to coordinate with, working in their right of way. But they are aware of this project, and they pretty much gave us the approval after, making sure that we meet their standards and the criteria in terms of for the bike signal, and also reconfiguring the intersection.
So assuming that you go first and you make your changes, whatever their requirements are won't undo what you guys have already done. In other words, you know where I'm coming from. It happens. It happens all the time. So
at this point, no. But
the left hand does not always talk to the right hand, which brings us to Blue Ridge, which we'll talk about separately. But that whole Blue Ridge, Georgia issue really gets more complicated because you want to have that west bike lane.
Yes.
But that also prevents cars that are trying to go north on Georgia from University having to, so we lose the turn lane there. So there really needs to be some community input into that.
Yes, absolutely.
Particular intersection, because nothing's happened there. It's horrendous. We've been fighting with DOT forever and a day to do something, and then it gets caught. And then you talk to SHA, and they're like, "Well, we don't know anything about that." So
yes,
that needs to be high up there on the priority list.
We understand, and we take a note of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right? Anyone online, Lori?
No.
I think.
Thanks. So people have mentioned linkages of other bike paths in the future. And it would seem to make a lot of sense if you're going south from Wyndham Lane, roughly, more or less parallel with Georgia Avenue towards Silver Spring. Are there plans in the works for that? And
yes, there is.
How does the timing work with this?
Yeah, so there is a plan bike facility on, I believe it's Woodland. Is it Woodland Drive? Beyond Wyndham, I think. So there is a neighborhood greenway that is planned for that section. Now, Amherst is funded by the Wheaton BIPA program, and it's limited to Wheaton CBD area. And anything beyond Wyndham is unfortunately not part of the Wheaton CBD anymore. I don't believe we have a plan anytime soon for Woodland Drive yet. But Matt know, because Matt knows everything.
Not everything, just everything bike related. So yeah, Angel's correct. I just wanted to just add a little bit. So this corridor from Arcola all the way down to Montgomery College, the Fenton Street, Woodland Drive, Amherst Avenue. It's one continuous corridor with a few interruptions. So the Fenton Street project, for those of you who aren't aware, is at basically 100% design. We're hoping to go to construction next summer, and that will get the bikeway through downtown Silver Spring. It connects to the Metropolitan Branch Trail just south of Burlington Avenue, Maryland 410. So the Metropolitan Branch Trail is a regional trail in Montgomery County, it runs basically right next to Fenton Street down past Montgomery College. There's a gap at the DC border, but DC is actively working to connect their piece. Once you get into Fort Todd Metro, it starts up again and it goes all the way to Union Station. So this is a continuous corridor that within the next few years will go all the way from Union Station in downtown Washington up to the north end of Silver Spring CBD. This Amherst project will also get built. There'll be a little bit of a gap though between Fenton Street and Amherst in Wheaton, but Woodland Drive and Amherst Avenue, it's still Amherst just south of Wyndham. It doesn't change to Woodland until a little bit further south. But those two projects that will, at some point, we will do a neighborhood greenway. It may be maybe phased. There is that medical campus that was mentioned earlier that's kind of a gap. And then there's the Beltway, which is also a gap. Now, the master plan does call for some kind of better connection across the Beltway, whether that's a wider sidewalk on Georgia Avenue underneath the bridge, whether that's a new bridge across the Beltway, maybe even with Woodland Drive. We don't, it's way too early, and that would be a very expensive project. But SHA does plan to rebuild that interchange in the future, and so there is some potential that we could leverage a state project to get that connection under the Beltway. And then the medical campus, it's always possible that things redevelop over time. It's in the master plan. When things redevelop, they're required to be in compliance. So as I said before, we have a big county. We have lots of projects. It's a network that's still growing. But if anyone wants to learn more about what's in the bike master plan, you can go to montgomeryplanning.org/bike-plan, and that will take you to the whole plan. But there is a map there, which is I always have that map open. I mean, I do this is my day job, but I always have that map open in a window on my browser because I never know when someone's going to ask me about a project. So it shows everywhere the county contemplates building low stress bike network. So yes, it's in the works, but it's not at the stage where we're in design yet. So it's probably several years out. But once these two projects are completed, it's going to be really a high priority for us to try and build that connection. But exactly where the funding for that comes in is a little different because it's outside the BIP program boundaries. So figuring out where we get that money is an open question right now, but it's on our radar.
Thank you. Great. Do you have any other questions in person or virtual on Zoom?
No questions.
No question. All right. I think we'll stick around for the next 10-15 minutes maybe, or should I just pass it back to Phil? Yeah, back to Phil. Sorry. I totally don't know what I'm doing. Okay.
All right, thanks, Angel. You may be sticking around, right?
Yes, I'll be here in person.
Okay. Seeing that all questions have been answered, we'll now conclude this hearing. As a reminder, we will be keeping the record open for 1 month. Written testimony and comments are due by Friday, January 12th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Additional written testimony and comments may be submitted by email and must be received by the close of this hearing day of the hearing record. Submissions should be sent to Angel Chang at angel.chang@montgomerycountymd.gov or can be submitted online using the comment form at the following link, which is seen on your screen, hopefully. We appreciate all your comments and questions tonight. At this time, the public hearing is now concluded. Have a great night. Thank you.